Hello and welcome. My name is Josh Corey, co-host on the Iron Realm Media podcast, heard every Friday night at 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time on the Iron Realm Media YouTube channel. This video is the first in a series of my appearances on the area's #1 rated afternoon drive radio show. The conversation on the Dave Glover show had turned to Neil deGrasse Tyson's dropping of the microphone, his now infamous explanation for gravity. My intention was to call in just to let them know that the flat earth was not so easily dismissed. But what happened next blew my mind.
DGS.
Can we do Duran Duran every Friday?
Yeah, can.
I like Duran Duran. We should play them every Friday.
I think this is kind of an old story, but we were talking about it yesterday off the air. This rapper who's having this debate with Neil deGrasse Tyson about...
we've never talked about it.
Let's talk about it. Yeah. I don't know who this guy is. I don't understand, but...
B.O.B.
Help me out.
He has a song called Airplanes. Apparently he doesn't know how airplanes work. Tones, take it away.
I'm eating these free wings we got.
It's Beer Friday.
Mm-hmm. B.O.B. is in a battle with... I apologize greatly for the food.
I'm going to start eating my wings while you talk.
I was trying to finish them at the break there. B.O.B. has a couple of songs. He's certainly had enough success that he has been in private planes, and he's made these claims like, I've been at very high altitudes, and he's taken pictures from the tops of mountains where he says, there's two cities in the background. They're 16 miles apart. You can clearly see them in this picture, and there's no curve of the earth. He claims that we have been lied to by scientists and the government for our whole lives, and that his travels and his experience has taught him that the earth is clearly flat. He has called out specifically Neil deGrasse Tyson for perpetuating this lie of the earth being round, and they have had a Twitter battle.
He's also not kind about it.
Battle.
He's not nice about it.
No, it's not like a ha-ha fun thing. It's you've been lying to us for centuries, trying to, suppress humans' knowledge of the origin of the earth and things like this. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, God love him, he does his best trying to explain to him, but he just chalks it up as all lies, all deception from scientists and government for our whole lives.
Okay, so confronted with someone like this, who is famous, has followers, it's not your brother-in-law, someone who has some sort of effect, especially on young people, what do? Do you ignore them? Do you attack them, marginalize them?
I never thought of it that way, because I've just thought it's so ridiculous that I've basically dismissed it. But you're right. He probably does have some influence on the way that people think, on his fans, on younger people that are his listeners.
All you have to do is go to YouTube.
And I wonder how many people,
popular conspiracy theories are. I mean, we've talked about Sandy Hook a lot.
And he's got a couple of big hits.
He does have big hits.
He's got a couple of big hits.
No matter what historical event, there are people who think it didn't happen. The moon landing, of course, is a big one.
And the bigger, the more they think that.
And so the earth being flat, the thing that I scratch my head about is not so much that people might still think that, but why would we have been lied to? What is in it for? Faking the moon landing, I get, because we had to show the Russians we can do this. So there was a reason for the government to fake that if it wasn't indeed faked. The earth being flat, let's say the earth is flat, and we are being lied to that it's a circle, it's round, it's a sphere. Why? What's the point
why not
of
just
that?
say, we live on a flat earth?
Right.
What are we, what's the...
So that's what makes me scratch my head. It's not that it's ridiculous. It's more like, well, okay, B.O.B., let's say you're right. The earth is flat. Why are they trying to convince us it's round? What good does it do for them?
What kind of people are attracted to conspiracy theories? And it's
a great question.
And what is have we always been like this? I believe that we live in a society where being right is really important. Your view being the correct one, whether it's about Donald Trump or the earth being flat or who's going to win the Super Bowl, that we are really, really invested in being correct. And I guess it's always been like that to some degree, but it really seems today we seem to have a much shorter fuse on everything with being questioned.
Yeah.
I think well, and then go back to when you were talking about a conspiracy. When everybody believed the world was flat, the first person that came up and said, no, it's not, that would have been a conspiracy at that point.
And they put him in jail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, crazy. I guess the other thing I look at, too, is, and we've talked about respecting the art, not the artist. So you've got a guy that's a rapper, or he's, I don't know, B.O.B., whatever.
Yeah.
If somebody, he wants to come out and, hey, this is how you make a hit song. All right, I'll listen to him. It's the same way if Joe Montana comes out and says, how to throw a spiral. But if he comes out and says, listen, if you're building an addition onto your house, this is what you need to do.
I disagree with that so much. The whole idea of staying in your lane, I think, is offensive. Look at the Renaissance man that is Vanilla Ice. Vanilla Ice, you might say he's just a trailblazing white rapper, but he also can tell you how to build a house, as you've seen on the DIY network. So the idea that people can do more than one thing is something that I ascribe to. Just because you're a rapper doesn't mean you should shut up about anything that does not have to do with rap.
So what, B.O.B. could be right?
Not my point. I'm saying that when Neil deGrasse Tyson is a scientist, but let's say he wants to host game shows as well. Good.
But I'm going to
do more than one thing.
Yeah, but I'm going to go to the expert in that area. That's the person I'm going to believe. Let's put it that way.
Experts could be wrong, like with Galileo, who actually he proved the experts wrong.
We have someone claiming to be a flat earther themselves. Hello, Josh. Go right ahead.
Hi, Dave. I get it.
Thank you.
I actually started looking into this flat Earth theory at about the end of 2014. There's actually a surprising large wave of number of people that started looking into it in 2014.
It's true.
And it's kind of picked up exponentially from there to the point that now we have B.O.B. and people like Tequila talking about it. God bless her soul.
Yeah, those aren't the best spokesperson for you
couple of
there.
scientists.
So walk us through, Josh. What if you're trying to convince me over a cup of coffee, what are your major arguments?
Well, for me, as far as it goes, I can't find any measurable curvature. You can look out across the ocean and see that the ocean is sea level because water will always find its level because it's level, it's flat. So we can look across Lake Michigan from Michigan and see Chicago at 60 miles. That's 60 miles across flat water that we can see the Chicago skyline. Now, according to conventional theory, the curvature of the Earth on a 25,000 mile-an-hour ball should be 8 inches of mile per drop times the distance squared. So you take the distance, you square it, multiply that times 8 inches, and that's how many inches of curvature the city should be behind the line of the curve.
Quick question for you, Josh. If you are in an airplane and you set out,
That's what I was just going to ask.
due west,
Due east,
and you just keep going, you will eventually wind up where you started from. How do you explain that?
Well, if you think of a dinner plate, you can take your finger and you can run your finger along the edge of that dinner plate. Run left clockwise or right counterclockwise. Sorry, that's backwards. But either way, you can run it around the edge of the dinner plate. And if you imagine north being dead center of that plate and south being the outside edge of the plate, anywhere in between you can go in a circle and circumnavigate in a circle all the way around the plate and end up back where you started. So you could say east to west would go all the way around, right or left, in the circle. That would be the circumnavigation of the globe.
Okay, Tony pulled up something where he's showing me this. So
I'm showing the flat Earth map, and
maybe you just explained this and I didn't understand it. But if it is the Earth is flat, wouldn't there be an edge?
Yes.
Well, you would. I can see why you'd think that because in elementary school, that's what we're told. We're said, we know the Earth is a globe, and people were very scared of taking a boat and sailing off the edge, and that's why we know it's not flat because nobody's ever done it. People have circumnavigated the globe, so obviously it's a globe. They've gone east to west, so we know it's a globe. What we know if we think of north being in the center, if you're looking at that flat Earth map, I don't really consider it a map.
I'm looking at it.
Because we don't know what the shape of it is.
the North Pole is right in the middle of it.
Well, what about this? Let me ask you this. So all of the images that we have from space and all the images we have of the moon, like we can see the moon, is it your proposition that the moon is also just like a dinner plate, that what we're seeing is a circle, but that it's flat?
I wouldn't say that it's flat necessarily. The sun and the moon appear to be, depending on what math you use, you can use spherical geometry and say that the sun is 93 million miles away in the galaxy. Or you can use plane geometry and figure the sun to be about 3,000 miles up in the sky.
I'm gonna put Josh on hold if you can hold. We have people calling in.
Fascinating.
Now, here's what's really interesting to me. I know Josh is wrong. And if Josh weren't on the phone with me and such a nice guy, I would say, Josh is an idiot.
Yeah, crank.
Comma. He clearly knows more about mathematics and geometry than I do.
Yes.
So this could be flat Earth. It could be global warming. It could be abortion, politics, whatever. And here's a situation where I would immediately claim superior knowledge to him in the extreme, and yet I didn't understand any of those equations. See what I mean?
Yes.
He has superior knowledge to me and seems to believe something crazy. That's what fascinates me. Quick break. Hopefully Josh will hold on through the break. A lot of people calling in. I'm hoping to give an intelligent response to him, which I cannot. Perfect for Friday. Duran Duran and Flat Earth.
I love this. We have so many.
Fun. I'm glad Josh held on. We were talking about this story where rapper B.O.B. was calling out
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil Tyson
Grass.
About the Earth being flat. And so Josh called and said, well, I'm a flat earther, and was walking us through it. And as soon as he started talking, I thought to myself, either he's just completely full of crap or he's smarter than me, because I don't know these X inches drop per this equations. And I think that goes for so many things, even if Josh is completely wrong. I had a friend of mine who's very conservative. He was so mad at me because I won't completely rule out man-made global warming. I've had very liberal friends get super mad at me because I won't accept man-made global warming. And I told them both the same thing. I can talk for about 25 seconds about global warming until I start lying, embellishing, completely making something up. I don't understand it. And I don't think many other non-scientists do either. And so when someone is so cocksure about something like that, it's one thing to say, well, it's not that much different. If you have some theory of economics, clearly it's this. I can say that. But it's not going to take you very long, if you really understand economics, to out me as not knowing what the hell I'm talking about.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to me that 99% of us don't know what we're talking about on any given topic, and yet we just give our opinions.
We can expound on it, yes.
Yes. Yes. At least I'm honest enough to admit 90% of the things I would give my opinion on. Ask me about my family. Ask me about my background. Ask me about what I like to eat. 100% assurance. Ask me about anything else.
Off the air, we were talking all about the flat Earth thing, and I have come to the realization of why our government would lie to us about
Here
this
we go.
for aeons and aeons.
Josh,
and
you
aeons.
created a monster.
The other side of the Earth, which we have never seen,
Well, we don't know that. We don't know what his thoughts on that are. I think it's right. I think you're right.
the government knows about it, and they have a utopia over there.
Oh!
And we are being
we're in the
controlled.
wrong side of the earth.
We're in like Earth purgatory, and they don't want us to know about it. And whenever they need organs or what have you, they harvest us.
Somebody says, ask this guy about No.
Let's get it back on.
Mercator.
Okay, Josh is back on.
Mercator projection charts. Mercator projection charts. What's that? I don't know. And somebody says mountains. Well, how could there be mountains, Josh? Welcome back. And what about that stuff?
Well, Mercator has a couple different projections, actually. You can find a Mercator projection from the 1600s that looks a lot like that AE projection that you're looking at, the flat Earth map that you might call it. It's an azimuthal equidistant projection.
See?
Basically, it just puts everything out in a straight line and gives everything in a nice little circle. So you can find Mercator projections that look like the flat Earth map, just like you can find Mercator projections that look like the kind of map you get from the pull down on the wall in school. Mercator has lots of different kinds of projections.
Max is
as far
pulling
as
up stuff.
cartography goes.
So, okay,
Amazing.
very basic questions. Help me out with this. What shape do you think the Earth is? Is it like a circular pizza stone, that it's thick, but it's not round?
See, I don't necessarily think that, and we have what's called the flat Earth theory, and in that theory there are several models. Some with a dome, with a firmament of a solid, like some sort of structure over top of us.
Yeah.
Or it's the Van Allen radiation belts, and that's our firmament that we can't get through.
So are you more of a thin Earth or a thick? Like, what is there a
Chicago style or St. Louis?
Yeah, Chicago style.
Provel or Mozzarella?
And is there what's on the bottom? Nothing.
Well, the model that I prefer tends to be come from the high elevation shots we have from like the weather balloons and the high altitude footage that we get. Is that horizon line rises with us almost completely all the way as high as we go. So if we lived on a ball, eventually that horizon would start to drop to the point that we could be looking down and see the shape of the ball. But as with the weather balloon shots, no matter how high we get, as long as you're not using a GoPro camera or some sort of fisheye lens, it's going to be a completely level horizon as it rises with your eye all the way up, no matter how high you go. So
what is the point?
Well, it shows to me that it's almost an infinite plane. We can see basically that we're not getting any basic shape as far as the eye could possibly see.
What
even
benefit?
From unlimited altitude.
What benefit is there to science or the government or anybody else for saying that the Earth is a sphere? Like, what?
Yeah.
It seems like a weird thing to lie about if you're going to just...
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I mean, who knows exactly what their benefits would truly be, whether it's some sort of spiritual aspect or a monetary thing, I'm not sure. But when you put something on a finite ball and say, this is everything that we know, this is all that we are, we're just some sort of big bang happenstance monkey people, and this is what we are. This is what science shows us. And we've managed to take all of our scientific theories and we put them in the classroom, and you drop the word theory, you present it as fact, and you perpetuate whatever sort of line of thinking that you want to perpetuate.
Let's get some more calls on. Josh, I'm leaving you on. Charlie, you're up next. Go ahead.
Okay, I called to talk about sailors and how that for centuries they've been using a sextant. And being a sailor, I can tell you I've seen the Earth round from the ocean. But I don't want to just try and dispel this guy. I want you to hire him and replace him on your Paranormal Tuesdays. This guy is out there.
That's actually a great idea to have.
We really
need to have him in.
Need to have Josh.
We need to have you in, Josh.
Josh, you do need to come in for Paranormal Tuesday.
Hello, Michael. Go ahead.
For real.
Yeah, hi. I remember this from a film or something I saw or when I was a kid that there was a gentleman, I'm not sure if it was in Egypt or China, to be honest. There was a man who put a stick in the ground at one point, another one like a couple hundred or a couple thousand, whatever was possible at that time, miles away, and they observed them, and the height of the shadows were different when the sun came at a certain time of day. Now, the Earth has to be curved for the shadows to be a different length.
Josh?
They were flat.
That's very interesting. That's Aristophanes that I believe that did that.
Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, Aristophanes, I think, was the one that performed that actual experiment. And there's actually, I mean, it's very interesting. As long as you're using Occam's razor and you're using the least amount of presumptions to begin with, if you're not assuming a round ball just to do that, if you can't get that exact same result using plane geometry, if the only way to achieve that result shows that we live on a ball, that's fine. But I get the sneaking suspicion. Again, I don't know very much. I'm not that smart of a guy, so I doubt I'm smarter than you, Dave. And there's a really good chance I'm completely wrong.
Would you be disappointed if somehow you were convinced that, okay, the world is in fact a sphere? Would you be disappointed, like, oh, crap, that made me happy?
No, not at all. There was a lot of cognitive dissonance I had to go through to break my 38 years of spherical conditioning, you could call it. To actually say, well, how in the world could it possibly be flat?
People are texting the word astronauts like crazy. Like, yes. So if I don't say astronauts, somebody's going to just
go around.
Yeah.
So Astro, not. Astro, not. Yeah, they're not really going. They're not really going up. I don't think. You can show a lot of computer-generated images, and we can go through and talk about the different ways they can fake this stuff and all the different ways.
So you think that is fake?
I mean. Again, I was looking at this in 2014.
That would be everyone's space program has been faked. Not just the moonshot, but our space program, the Russians, the Chinese.
That's about it.
Everyone's space program has been faked.
And Josh, going back, why? Why would
Yeah, he doesn't have.
I don't.
He's already said he doesn't know.
Even go a step further.
Take it a step further, close.
Do you think?
Always does.
And again,
What percentage of the government around the world is trying to put one over on us? I mean, is there like 4 or 5 guys, or is it like pretty much common knowledge in NASA and all that?
I mean, I don't really understand the psychopathy it takes to control the planet for the people, for the politicians, for the big multi-billionaire, multinational corporation owners. I don't understand their mentality. So the whys is completely beyond me. I couldn't even begin to guess.
Jason has a good question here. Oh, hold on. Jason, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, Dave.
Hey.
I get it.
Thank you.
All right, Josh. I'm a science teacher, so I'm just curious. How
Here
do
we
you
go.
explain a day where it's light time on this side of the Earth and it's dark on the other side of the Earth? If I'm looking at a dinner plate and you shine a light on the dinner plate, you've got daytime everywhere. And if you turn off that light, you've got nighttime everywhere. How would you, flat earther, figure that one out for me?
It's a good one.
Sure, and not really a problem as far as the flat Earth theory is concerned, because, again, we're all basing this on a complete theory. And as the theory goes, the sun is about, if you use, plane geometry, it's about 3,000 miles up in the sky. But so you basically have to redefine your whole concept of what the sun is. Is it really this nuclear fission reaction that's creating light as it expands throughout the universe? Well, it's not in the flat Earth theory, because none of that exists. So you have to kind of you have to think of it almost as
Like a flashlight, almost?
Like a localized light, more of a spotlight. So it's not shining in a complete spherical 360-degree everywhere light, where it just be light everywhere. It's more of almost like a spotlight. It's a localized lighting almost.
And it moves across
even
the
if it's
plate.
a flashlight, you're shining that on your dinner plate. Everything is lit at the same time.
But I think what Josh is saying is that the Earth is
and how far away the light is. And
I think what Josh is saying, Jason, is that the sun isn't that far away from the Earth, and that as it moves, as the bodies move, it becomes dark and light in different parts of the dinner plate.
Yeah, but we'd still be able to see it. It would get dimmer and brighter and dimmer and brighter. It would get larger and smaller and larger and smaller. It wouldn't not. It wouldn't do.
Well, it
like
depends on how big the light is. If it's a small little flashlight on a big dinner plate,
You're convincing Tony.
Well, no, I'm just saying I understand what he's trying to say. I'm not saying he's right.
you guys all know Thomas Dolby, right? She blinded me with science.
Science.
Thomas Dolby released an album called The Flat Earth. He's used the name Flat Earth Society for his website forums, and he holds the place as the first member since the Flat Earth Society reopened membership.
Wow, how about that?
Blinded me with science, Flat Earth.
Wow.
I'm not a big fan of
Should
the
we
Flat
tilt
Earth
on an
Society
axis?
either.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Do we-
Oops, sorry.
no.
My fault. Go ahead.
Jason's gone.
No, the Flat Earth Society is what I guess a lot of Flat Earthers consider like controlled opposition. It's a guy, Leo Ferrari, that started the Flat Earth Society, and he would go around and do interviews
Sweet
carrying a
car,
rock,
too.
talking about, this is the rock that saved my life as I hung off the edge of the Flat Earth. So they always considered to be more of a
goof.
controlled opposition, just someone for people to see, oh, that's what Flat Earthers
So,
are like?
just to
Okay,
be
well,
clear-
yeah, Flat Earth is obviously ridiculous.
Just to be clear, you do not. There is no edge in your theory. There's not an edge
It's a
that you
model
could
that I subscribe
It's
to.
like
that you could
Asgard.
sail. Like you couldn't
Back.
sail off the
It's
edge
like
or fly
Asgard.
off the edge.
Right.
Okay.
That would be cool.
And because you're not talking about space exactly, when you talk about the underside of a flat Earth, you're still thinking of like a disk floating in
Don't let
infinite
him go.
space. So you
Don't.
just have to go around
No,
to
make
the
sure we get his
underside of it.
info.
But that, in the flat Earth theory, that's not necessarily the way it works.
All right, Josh, we're going to put you on hold and get your info so we can have you on a Paranormal Tuesday. Thanks. Quick break.